Hey everybody, I'm Sean.
And I'm Kieran.
Welcome to another episode of Angling Spiders.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is going to be a bit of a shorter episode. We've had a couple of comments recently asking us to go through our fishing loadout, how we put all our gear in our kayaks, how we set up our life jackets and whatnot. So we're going to be going over that today.
Yeah, so before we get to the video today, just a reminder to those of you who may be using our fishing logbooks. I've added a couple of more lakes to the access for online, so we should now have Dalmead, Eagle, and Badger. I should be adding another 3 lakes this week. And for those of you who are subscribers, if there is a lake that you would like a fishing logbook page for, please let us know below in the description or in the comments, and I'll make sure that I make a logbook sheet for the lake that you're requesting. So let's get to today's episode.
Let's do it. Hey guys, so we can't do a video about our gear loadout without first talking about the stuff we permanently attach to our kayaks. In episode 1, if you've seen that one, we attached the anchor cleat, the rear rod holder, the paddle clip here, and the front rod holder. And more recently, in a previous episode, we attached the transducer mount for our fish finder and obviously the fish finder holder. Also a little bit how they're mounted. All the front ones here, you can see the paddle clip, the transducer mount, the fish finder mount, and the front rod holder are all mounted with bolts. This was just easier because we could reach under the kayak to attach them. But in the back here, we have the rear rod mount holder and the anchor cleat. We actually had to attach them with screws because you can't reach under the kayak actually. There's a piece of styrofoam that sits here that blocks you from actually putting your arm under there. So we just had to attach those ones with screws. Still seems to be stable, works pretty well. I guess we'll have to see in the future if that holds up. To finish off the installation, we put a bead of marine grade silicone around everything just to ensure we don't have any leaks. If you're looking to check out any of these products, we'll put the links in the description down below so you can check that out if you want. And now Dad's going to go over our typical setup for fishing. Let's get to it.
Okay, so as Kieran said, that's some of the gear that we've actually attached to the kayak. Now I'm going to go over our typical fishing setup. There's quite a lot of stuff that we put in our kayaks when we go fishing, and so I'll start from the back end and work my way forward. Very back here, we've got a fish stringer. This goes on if we're in a lake where we're going to be keeping fish. If you've been watching our episodes, most of our lakes are catch and release, but there are a few where we're allowed to keep them, and so this is how we typically keep the fish that we're going to catch, just tied on to the elastic straps here at the back. Next up, we've got our anchor, and we talked about this in episode 5 as one of the top 5 things that we've added to the kayaks. These things have been great. Again, we just connect it right to the elastics here at the back, and then once we put it down, we wrap it around the anchor cleat. Super handy. The only challenge with these is they've got a 25-foot rope, so if you're in water deeper than that, you're not going to be able to use them. In a later episode, we picked up some nets. Wish we would have had these when we were on the Bow River, because it would have made getting the trout in the boat a lot easier, but we learned that lesson, and we will be trying to do the Bow River again later this year, so hopefully we can pick up some trout. This is secured to one of the straps on the seat. These have been really good, and you'll have seen us using these in most of our episodes. Again, from episode 5, seat pad, just a standard foam seat, makes it a little bit more comfortable to sit in the kayaks for quite some time. Also talked about our tackle boxes and dry bags previously. So we got a couple of dry bags. This one sits in the little compartment next to the seat here and has the GoPro camera gear in it, including the underwater mount, extra batteries, and the selfie stick. And this is typically where I put my keys and my wallet so that everything stays dry, and it just slides in here. Right next to that, typically we have our small tackle box. These are sealed. As we showed off in one of our episodes, these float. I think it was the Eagle Lake episode. And this just sits right beside. If you're going to have a little tackle box in your kayak, a tip, there is a space under the seat, and so if it's too narrow, it will slide under the seat. So you just got to be careful for that, because there is a gap underneath the seat in the Pelican Mission 100 kayak. So that just sits right beside it. On the other side of the seat, we've got the battery holder, also in a watertight container. Important so that you don't get your battery wet. We figured out the size, as we mentioned in a previous video, and that just slides sitting upright right next to the other side of the seat. Haven't figured out anything in terms of cable management yet, but for the time being we've just been sliding the cables beside the seat. It's worked out fine. That's obviously connected to the fish finder, the Garmin Striker 4. It's working really well so far. We'll probably do a review of this in a future episode once we get a little bit more experience under our belts. Also got the transducer arm and the transducer easily adjusted using this Scotty transducer arm mount. When you get close to the water, you can lift it up. As I mentioned before, it can be in multiple positions, although we don't typically use the top position, but it's there if you wanted to really get it out of the way. Again, for cable management for the transducer, I'm just wrapping it around the forward rod holder. It works really well. It's zip tied together, so I think we'll leave it that way for the time being. On our forward rod holder, of course, we've got our rods, and this one's set up for the trolling position, but fully adjustable. So if you wanted it forward, or you want it at a different angle, you can do that. Just adjust it, tighten it back up. Helps if you're launching to get your rods out of the way. And lastly, we've got our trusty sponge, which we use to clean off our kayaks, clean some of the mud up that's on our shoes. Every once in a while, some blood from the fish that gets on the kayak, and they've worked really well as well. And I guess the last piece hidden well in the front here is another dry bag. This is a bigger dry bag, and typically this is for any number of things depending on the day. It always has sunscreen, always has bug spray, some toilet paper, and if it's going to be a rainy day, we would throw our rain gear in here, sometimes some extra water. Anything really extra that you need for storage but that you also want to keep dry is what we typically throw into this dry bag, and then it just goes inside and we slide it to the very front. Works great. So that is our typical setup for fishing. I don't know what else we would add in the future. There's already quite a bit in these things, and it's working quite well. If you've got suggestions for anything else that you have in your kayak or that you would like to see, let us know and maybe we'll give it a try. The last piece of our fishing setup is what we personally have on, and we're going to go back to Kieran for that.
Okay, so now I'm going to go over our personal loadout, starting here with the life vest. We wear these all the time in our kayaks just in case we fall out. We don't want to sink. They're great to have, and yeah, as I said, we wear them all the time. Along the same lines, we have this whistle. If you fall out the kayak, you blow it, you make a little noise, and hopefully someone will hear you and come rescue you from the water. We haven't fallen out yet. We hope it never happens, but just in case it does, they're good to have. Moving on here, our life vests have these little pockets, so this is where we store a couple pieces of gear, starting here with our fish grips. I think we got these off of Amazon and they work really well. They snap shut and hold the fish really tight, so these work pretty good. Moving on, we have the hook removers. I find these work better than pliers because instead of twisting, you can just grab the hook and pull, and it's a lot easier. And lastly, in this pocket, I store my sunglasses just in case it gets a little sunny. I can throw them on, and they're nice to have. So that's my loadout. If you guys have a different loadout, feel free to send us some pictures. So if you like the video, smash that like button, hit subscribe. Until next time, good fishing.